Right now it is Thursday, December 12th, and tomorrow they are going to be hosting a book signing for the new Ministry photo book that just came out in Chicago. I like Chicago. I went to visit there last year and I really enjoyed it. It's going to be nice to go back again. Ministry's been one of my favorite bands for the past few years, and Al Jourgensen is a personal hero of mine, so yeah, I'm finally going to get to meet the man himself. The forecast called for freezing rain on the way to the airport, so I had to leave an hour early. I knew there was a surreal day ahead of me when I was waiting for breakfast at the airport. A Popeyes employee behind the counter called a customer's number, not noticing that the bag of breakfast was on fire until we all went, "Whoa, shit!" A 2.5-hour flight later, and I'm in Chicago. The venue opens at 6 p.m., and they're only allowing the first 100 people into the after-party in the basement. It's possible that hundreds of people will be at the signing, but it's only 9 a.m., which means I have a little time to kill. Kuma's Corner is an iconic metal-themed restaurant. To go with the occasion, the Kuma's on West Loop brought back the Ministry Burger for a limited time. That burger was awesome. It's a shame I couldn't finish it all. And of course, listening to the sword as I ate was the icing on the metal cake. Or extra topping on the burger, I don't know. At around 12:30, I got to the venue, Morgan's on Fulton, to see if anyone was in line yet. Free tickets for this signing sold out very quickly. See, Al's a bit like Bob Dylan. He's a little on the reclusive side. It's not impossible to meet him, but it doesn't happen often. A lot of people wanted to meet Al, and people from all over the country were flying in for this. Now that I've familiarized myself with Morgan's and saw no line, there was more exploring to do. Today was about Ministry after all, so why not visit a couple landmarks? The closest place near the venue was where the original Chicago Wax Trax was. Now it's a dentist office, but this is where it started for Ministry. Of course, loads of other great bands like Front 242, The Thrill Kill Cult, KMFDM, Frontline Assembly, and many others were on the label. A lot of history exists in this building. If I'm going to visit the Wax Trax building, the Metro should be next. It still runs decades later. This is where Revolting Cocks recorded their live album. Walking to the Uber spot, I looked up and saw Wrigley Field happen to be on the same street. A friend would later tell me, that's like walking up to the Empire State Building by accident. So there's one last stop to make before I get in line. That's Chicago Trax. Lots of bands recorded there. I get to the address and it's a nail salon. Locals would later tell me that the building was demolished and rebuilt, along with many other buildings in the city. I get back to Morgan's on Fulton around 3:30. Now we wait. They're still setting up inside. At this point, there are only a couple people waiting outside. We all start chatting as more come along. One guy I talked to, Bill, grew up in Chicago. He'd tell me about the clubs in the city he used to see Ministry and similar bands at. Just in case there were extra things ticket holders had access to that walk-ins didn't, a school teacher named George would give me one of his extra tickets. We were allowed to bring one additional thing to be autographed with the book. I wanted my Filth Pig CD signed. Bill didn't want anything autographed besides his book, so he offered to have my ticket signed for me. It's almost time to open. Tickets ran out quickly, and the demand for more was so big that they moved from the originally planned venue to here. A lot of people asked if walk-ins were allowed. Instead of the hundreds of people I thought would be in line right now, there were probably only 30. 10 of us at a time were put into an elevator to get to the second floor. Chris Connolly and Al's daughter, Adrian, briefly appeared from the green room and then headed back in. After a few minutes, Al comes out along with the book's author, Aaron. Everyone applauds and the signing begins. While waiting, a guy behind me was sweating from excitement. I'd made a point in earlier conversation that I didn't want to act like a fanboy in front of Al, so I got it out of my system by bouncing up and down a little before it was my turn. Finally, it's my turn. First, I thanked Aaron for letting me send my oil can for him to use in the book. Al said to me, "Oh, you sent that." I kept it short with Al. "I have 3 of your posters on my wall. Your music's been the soundtrack to good and bad situations in my life, and all I have to say is thank you." He appreciated that. I continued. "I talk about Ministry so much to my girlfriend that if we ever break up, she'll never be able to listen to Ministry without thinking of me." Al laughed at that one. I shook his hand and then I was directed downstairs. Al was in a good mood. If anyone brought an extra album or 2 to be autographed, he had no issue signing them. Someone proposed in front of Al. Dwayne Buford was there, and somebody brought a copy of With Sympathy to be signed. For years, Al famously refused to sign that album, so in order for this to happen, a $1,000 donation to the Chicago Blackhawks Foundation had to be made first. While waiting for the after-party to start, a few of us who hit it off in line went to a bar. The after-party at 8 was held in the basement. Drinks were served, and a DJ played Wax Trax music. Some of us danced, some of us talked, all of us screamed along with Ministry songs together when they came on. Even though the first 100 people who wanted to go were allowed, not many people showed up, but the vibe was still nice. Bill and I left to grab some Giordano's pizza, and then he drove me back to the airport. Thanks again, Bill. I didn't even bother with a hotel. I hung out in the airport lobby until my flight back at 6:15. When I got home, I slept for 16 hours. Reading the book the next day was as satisfying as visiting Chicago. The whole day was surreal. Even weeks after the fact, I was still trying to reel it all in. I met Uncle Al.